Welcome to Courageously Speaking with Maria Soriano, a podcast highlighting inspiring individuals who made brave decisions to achieve success beyond oneself. Available every first and third Thursdays wherever you get your podcasts. A three-time Emmy Award Winning Journalist. How do you do that?
Yeah, it was a long journey, and as you said, like you know, when you moved here from the Philippines, right? I moved here from Thailand when I was 18. Failure was not an option for me, even at 18. You know, I knew I moved all the way. My parents spent all this money to send me to America. I can't let them down. I couldn't let myself down. You know, Thai was my first language, so I didn't speak English until I was, 7 or 8. And I still remember, you have those core memories, right? And I still remember when I was like battling words, pretending to be speaking English.
Wow.
And the symptom is like I get really nauseous.
No
Like
way.
I feel like I'm gonna throw up, and I do that every time before a presentation.
What do you do?
I just push through. I always say focus on why you're there. You're there to entertain. You're there to tell your story. You're there to give a presentation, and take that away from yourself. Like it's not really about you. It's about why you're there, right?
Did you know that public speaking is the most common phobia, even ahead of spiders,
Really?
heights, and
Oh
even
my God.
death? Do you know that? About 40% of our population suffers that. Okay? Tell me, do you have any idea why? Because it seems like normal to talk.
I just think a lot of it comes down to just really being fearful of how people are going to think of you. It's like, how are people going to judge me?
Welcome to another episode of Courageously Speaking. I'm your host, Maria Soriano, and here with me is a special guest that I'd like to introduce to you, Miss Patranya Bhoolsuwan.
Hi.
Patranya is a three-time Emmy Award Winning Journalist, a TV, digital, and podcast host just like me, and the CEO and founder of Patranya Media LLC. Today, Patranya is going to share with us her courageous journey from Thailand all the way to the United States of America, with storytelling as one of the many skills that made her who she is today. Welcome to the show, Patranya.
Thank you, Maria. I sound like I'm really, really busy. I don't know if I really am, but you make me sound really busy, so thank you.
But you are busy.
Yeah, but it's been fun. It's been a fun journey.
So we're so excited, but
Yes.
we're going to go back in time.
Okay.
So tell us about the path that you took to becoming a three-time Emmy Award Winning journalist. How do you do that?
Yeah, it was a long journey, and as you said, like when you moved here from the Philippines, right? I moved here from Thailand when I was 18. So that was, basically right out of high school. I knew I wanted to come to America to become a journalist, and basically I left home, travel across and back then, there was no Facebook, there was no, this was back in the days, and my parents basically took me to America and left me here, and I'm sure it's a very scary journey for them as well. And yeah, I started my journey then with this dream of becoming not a three-time Emmy
It
Award
was
winning
not in your
journalist.
plan. You just
No,
want to be a
well,
journalist.
and that was hard enough. At the time I was an international student to America. I did not know if I could even stay in the U.S. after I graduated. So I knew that I had to work 10 times harder than anybody in my classroom. I started my internship my freshman year. I mean, who did that, right? People wait until they almost graduate to intern. I knew that I had to build those relationships with all those TV news stations in San Francisco, where I went to college.
So you went to
University of San Francisco.
Oh, USF.
USF. So
Okay.
I was there. I did all my internships at all these TV stations, and then I just, one of the stations was, just super kind to me, supported me, sponsored me to be in this country, and here I am today. So, it was a journey that I did not know how it was going to end, but I felt like that's kind of been my life. You move from one country to the next, you didn't know how it was going to end, but you hope for the best, you work really hard, and you keep telling your story, and to people who will listen and know that your dreams are worth it, and here I am.
During that journey,
Yeah.
what are the challenges that you faced as an immigrant and an international student? That must be so hard because you're by yourself.
Right.
You didn't know anyone.
Didn't know anybody. Yeah.
How did you find that courage? I would be so scared.
I was scared, and trust me, I still remember the fear, but I think the fear of not succeeding in my goals was a lot bigger than the fear of just kind of like taking on the challenge that very day, you know. And I felt like failure was not an option for me, even at 18. You know, I knew I moved all the way. My parents spent all this money to send me to America. I can't let them down. I couldn't let myself down, you know. So that, I think, just kind of helped trumped everything. And I just, you know, I don't know. I think some people called it like blind faith, or just being naive at the time, thinking that, okay, if I work really hard, I'll make this happen, you know. But I think you have to have that blind faith in anything you do in order to get to your goals.
Mm-hmm. So it seems like your background and experiences have shaped your storytelling approach. So can you recount a specific powerful or like emotional story that you've covered in the past and has really deeply resonated with you?
Yeah. You know, as you know, I was a reporter for many years, right? But I started in a very small market. After I left San Francisco, I went to be a news anchor at this small town called Redding, California, which is like way up north, northern, almost Oregon, really small market. But that's how, in the news business here in the U.S., you know, you have to start small and work your way up. So that was my small market where I was a news anchor. And, you know, seriously, they weren't as, Asians aren't, you know, not like here or in San Francisco. We were very few. People stared at you everywhere. I mean, you're just one of the few. But there was a one Thai restaurant in town called Nipa, and the owners actually basically just adopted me. And I learned while, you know, getting to know them that they have a daughter who was diagnosed with blood cancer, and they needed help. They needed donation and transplant for her daughter, and because of the language barrier, cultural barriers, they couldn't get the story out. And when I came into town, I became that bridge to connect them with the media, with the community, and because of that, I felt like that was my purpose. You know, even as a reporter until now, connector of people who may not have that voice or that platform to be able to tell their stories. And now I feel like that just was the start of my journey to become a storyteller.
And you gave them a voice when they have a story to tell, but due to language barrier. But it seems like both of us, you know, coming from another country, we were ESL. So how did you improve your speaking skills?
You just do it, you know, and people out there tell me all the time, I'm not confident enough. Even people who are, English is their first language, but especially people who aren't, just go out and do it. Your story is more important than how you sound or your accent or where you came from. If you have a story, it doesn't matter where you are, who you are, where you came from, just start telling your story.
That's very good. Patranya, since we're friends, I know things about you, but I notice in social media you don't really share a lot of personal things. I already warned you coming to this show that I'm going to have questions like this. Please share with us one thing that no one or only a few people know about you, perhaps because you're maybe afraid of being perceived as something else apart from your professional persona. Do you have something like that you'd like to share just in this episode?
Wow, okay. Well, I don't know. I don't know if I talk about this a lot just because, like you said, I'm very professional. And this is what I teach people in media training too, especially younger people, like people in college or just getting out that, hey, whatever you put out on social media, it's out there. You know, especially your personal life. If it's a little crazy, you know, people, if you're applying for a job, people will be like, what are you doing? You know, so I kind of take that lesson to heart too. I kind of keep my you know, social very professional. But of course, you know, my friends know I have a story that, you know, people out there don't usually know. I think one of the things that people find really surprising, since I'm a communicator by trade, a journalist, you know, that I actually didn't, and you mentioned ESL, I actually did not speak English, did not know how really until I was about 7 or 8 years old. That was my first language, you know, and people are like, wait, you're training, you speak like you're from California, like, you know, you're not, it's like, first of all, I'm not even from this country originally, right? I was from Thailand, but Thai was my first language, so I didn't speak English until I was, you know, 7 or 8, and I still remember, you know, you have those core memories, right? And I still remember when I was like babbling words, pretending to be speaking English.
Wow.
And so to be where I am today, sometimes I'm amazed. I'm like, okay, this is my life now, that I'm a storyteller and I'm an English media trainer, teaching people everything from the way they talk and, you know, storytelling, messaging and everything. So, you know, you just never know, right? You get to know people and you think, oh my God, they've done this all their lives, whatever. But, you know, I've struggled with that. And when I was a journalist and starting in the business, you know, I was very intimidated because of
You intimidated?
yes.
Oh, I see you as very like strong, like type A personality. Still nice,
Well,
but type A.
yeah.
I have never seen you like kind of fearful or nervous.
And maybe that's something people don't think about, but that I have this, you know, that movie Inside Out,
Mhm.
anxiety.
I love it.
Anxiety is like the biggest thing right now. I have a lot of anxiety, and people don't think that. They're
Yes,
like, what?
I think you have an approach to this. Okay, tell us. Spill the beans.
I'm the anxiety of like life, but some reason I think I like, you know, that fake it till you make it. I like take that to the max. You know what I mean? I just kind of embrace that. I think over time I'm just like, and I tell people this, and part of when I train people to speak in front of others is that embrace your anxiety. You know, that fear is a good thing because it shows that you care. And I think I've been anxious all my life because I care so much about making this life that I want to make for myself, you know, and I think now I'm beginning to kind of embrace that and said, okay, this fear is good. You know, you're anxious about things that you want to be good. And the reason because I'm just, like now I have so much to lose, you know, because I've built such a good life for myself and I want to make sure that it stays well, but at the same time it's scary, right? You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. You own a business, what's going to happen next year? But, you know, I'm trying to live life day by day, and I guess that anxiety is what not a lot of people know about me.
Yeah,
know?
well, when you say anxiety, a lot of people suffer from anxiety. I think like as long as the anxiety is used in a good way or in a positive way, like as for me, like aside from doing the podcast, I sing on the side.
Yeah.
Alan knows this, right, Alan? I get anxious right before a show. How true is that?
Every show.
Every show.
What do I do?
What's her like thing? What happens when she gets anxious?
She loves to start an argument over something.
Oh, okay, so.
And I cry. Like my makeup is all like.
Well, my kind of the symptom is like I get really nauseous.
No
Like
way.
I feel like I'm gonna throw up, and I do that every time before a
What do you do?
presentation. I just push through. You know, I mean, you just gotta do what you gotta do, and just kind of focus. I always say, focus on why you're there. You're there to entertain. You're there to tell your story. You know, you're there to give a presentation, and take that away from yourself. Like, you know, it's not really about you. It's about why you're there, right? So that's kind of like part of the
I
lesson.
love that. It's not really about you, even though you are the main person in that particular show, for example,
Right.
or if you're interviewing someone,
Yeah.
it's not just about you.
Yeah.
It's about everyone, and I think that is how I overcome the hurdle of feeling anxious, is because if I'm nervous, I care enough to do a great deal. So I would practice even right before the show and make sure it's going to be a good show.
And you always, like, you care so much. That's why I see you practicing and wanting it to be perfect. But that's the other thing, too, is, and that's what I had to learn because I'm such a perfectionist. Like
Yes,
you.
so tell us about this.
I think that is the thing. It's like you can't. And I expect not just me to be perfect. I expect everybody else to be perfect.
Yes.
Right? Because that's what a perfectionist does. You expect everybody else around you to be perfect as well.
How do you adjust?
Because you work so hard. You can't. And I think that's what I've kind of learned over the years is you just got to let people be not perfect because you're not perfect. And I have to remind myself that even I'm just doing this podcast with you, I'm not going to be perfect. I'm going to make mistakes. You're going to make mistakes. But we're just going to roll through it because that's life, right? So.
Yeah. Well, we haven't made a mistake yet. It's
Well,
rolling.
I don't know. I think we faked it really well. It's all in the editing.
Yes.
I'm like, took it all away. We're perfect. We're
Yes,
perfect.
yes. So I'm very excited. I'm going to ask you. I know it's not in the script, but you said your ESL at one point. You were scared. Can you speak in Thai? I just think that's going to be cool, right in front of the camera, and maybe introduce yourself as Patranya in Thai.
So Thai people, we say สวัสดีค่ะฉันชื่อ Patranya Bhoolsuwan วันนี้ฉันมาคุยกับ Maria Sariano ในพอดแคสต์นี้เพราะว่า Maria เป็นคนที่ผู้หญิงที่เก่งและผู้หญิงที่อยากจะให้ผู้หญิงทุกคนช่วยบอกเรื่องของตัวเองในทีวีในมีเดีย
Sounds
There
so
we go.
cool. Sounds so cool.
I
I'm
hope
so
it made
excited.
sense. Because Thai, you know, it's my first language, but I don't speak it very much. Seriously, the only time I speak Thai is probably in a Thai restaurant.
Okay.
You know, so, or it's with some of my Thai friends here. So when people make me speak it, I'm like, oh my God, it's coming out all funky.
And if it's formal, it's different. Because there was a point, I used to work at CSN where they told me, okay, can you translate in Filipino? Everything you have said in English, translate to Filipino. I was like, so easy when I was doing it. oh, I don't know the words because
Yeah.
it's formal language.
Right,
when it's
right.
like social, it's
Yeah.
easier,
Right.
you know.
And when you're forced to say something on camera, I'm like, oh, I haven't said this in a while. I hope I'm saying it right.
That sounded good. What do you
That
think?
sounded good to me.
Yeah, see? So
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm actually glad that you did that
Yeah.
because it brings you to the past, like who you are. Because I think the past also is one of the big reasons you are Patranya.
I
You're
wouldn't
very
be
different.
here if it weren't for everything that's happened before, even the bad times, right?
Yes.
So
The anxious
the
times.
anxious times. And trust me, I'm still anxious. I mean, right now, I'm probably like, oh my gosh, I hope I'm doing a good podcast for her, you know? But whatever, we'll be fine.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So there's another thing that I wanted to ask.
Yeah.
So you are such a respected journalist, and then you decided to transition from journalist to entrepreneur. I'm sure that required a significant amount of change in mindset and approach. Share with us that approach and that mindset, and is there like some sort of adversity or doubt that you had to overcome, Cash?
Talking about wanting to throw up because I'm anxious, I felt like I was wanting to throw up for like 3 months straight. You know what I mean? Because I've been thinking about transitioning from being a journalist, which is what I came to the U.S. for. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I moved to this country to be a journalist, and now am I betraying on my dreams, my goals, and my identity?
How dare!
Right? I mean, this was me. I'm a journalist. That's all I am. But I always kind of at the core knew that I wanted to do more. I wanted to do something that's mine. I wanted to tell more good news. I think that's at the core of it. After years and years of telling bad news, a lot of in the news, as you know, it's bad news, right? It's murders and fires and accidents and just bad news. And I'm like, you know what? There's so much good news in the world, and there's just not enough platform to tell it. So I wanted to be that platform, that bridge, that connector, and helping to help people tell their good stories in ways that's going to boost their lives in a good way. So I couldn't do that with the constriction of being in a news business.
So you just expanded what you're already
Right. Using my skills as a storyteller, but in a more positive way. And I think that just kind of pushed me over. It's like, okay. Then realizing that I didn't have to leave my journalism world altogether. I can now blend it. And I didn't realize
It's
it at the time.
strategic.
You have to be strategic, and you have to build those relationships that will allow you to do it. But I found this niche, and somehow I think being in Las Vegas was probably the best move that I can
We
make.
have a
in
good
starting my
community
business.
here.
We do, and I think anybody who wanted to move transition, just kind of just push through and just really know your purpose and say, what do you want to do with your life that's going to make you happy, and you want to make other people, feel the same way. So
But I'm sure as an entrepreneur, I'm a new entrepreneur,
yeah,
and sometimes you doubt yourself. It's
Oh,
like,
yeah,
did
every
I make
day.
a right choice?
trust me, and you will.
Share with us that, like, should you go back and
Well-
not stay an entrepreneur? Because it's harder, it's more difficult. Like,
It's-
it used to be certain time frame, Monday to Thursday or whatever it is that
Yeah.
your schedule, and now it's like every day.
Yeah, and I feel like you work harder.
Yeah.
People say, "Oh, I'm just gonna work for myself. It's gonna be a lot easier." I feel like you work 24/7 or more, as an entrepreneur. But once you sit down, you're like, "Wait, I'm doing what I really love," And once you come back, you start to think about, why am I doing this? And just like, are you doing it for you, your own reasons? And remember that you don't have to be just one thing. I think people just think, "Oh, I have to be an entrepreneur, a business owner. That's it." You can be a million things and just make it your own. And now you have the freedom to tell your own story, where you're not like, a boss is not going to come and tell you this is going to be your path. You have
You carve that
you
path.
carve that path for yourself.
It's just gonna be this path. You are accountable for this path because
Right.
somebody didn't pave it for you.
Right,
You
right,
pave it yourself.
right. So yeah, you can do it. I'm so proud of you.
How important is community?
Oh gosh, it's everything. And I think I'm realizing it more now as an entrepreneur, as I think you will too, that without your community, that's gonna be your hype people basically, or that you can also be their hype person. It's really nothing there in terms of, what you're doing, because you're not just in your own little pot, right? You're working with this community, you're helping to tell their story, they're reaching out to you for help, you get to help them, you get to support them, they get to support you, and then that community just keeps growing. So especially as an entrepreneur, as a storytelling, I call myself the storytelling entrepreneur,
I like this one, chief
Chief storyteller.
It says something.
Chief storyteller of
Yes,
my
chief
own.
storyteller. I like that.
And yeah, Yeah, but who am I telling stories? People in my community, right? So I think when are you thinking, especially of starting your own business, like you and me, you got to think about first just your close community, just your core, and then you expand out, and you're just going to be amazed, like how quickly it goes if you start working. Work hard. I say my motto now is like, you put in the work, and the work is going to take care of you, right? You're just gonna, and then people will take care of you. I think that's what the community does. If it's something that you're positive, you're putting out in the world, the community will give it 10 times back.
So my question is, not everybody has community. Like maybe there are aspiring journalists out there or entrepreneurs, maybe a little introverted or to themselves, not necessarily bad, because I believe introverts has really brilliant minds. But what kind of advice could you give them so that even though maybe they don't have the community yet, they will have that courage to take that risk and start something that they really love and follow their passion and purpose?
Well, I just feel like it comes down to, if you have a great story but no one knows about it, then what's the point of being there? You want to be able to help others with your story or maybe impact someone in your way. And you're not doing that if you're just keeping the story to yourself. So think of maybe start with just one event. Like if you have a good friend who's holding an event next week, it's a networking event, at least one or two people there, just go. Just say, you don't have to go very long. Go for like half an hour. Just give yourself that 30 minutes. You don't even have to stay the whole time. Right. Just think of it as just like going out there, talk to your friend, maybe have them introduce you to one person. Have a plan going into it, because I think a lot of times when you're afraid to get out there and tell your stories, like you're not sure what's going to happen. But if you build your narrative, like build that, okay, this is what's going to happen. I'm going to go at this time. I'm going to go talk to Maria. I'm going to ask Maria, can you introduce me to one person? And just that. And if you're just, I'm done, walk out, done. At least you did something that day. So start small, and then you're going to build that confidence over time, and you're probably going to have a lot of fun. And you're like, you know what? I want to go to more of this.
It actually is a little addicting.
Yes.
When I started going to different events, it's like, this is so much fun. And you are not only earning potential collaborators or clients, you're earning friends.
Yes. And like I said, take the attention away from you, right? When you go to these events, think about how you can help that person. If you have a skill or you have a business that can really help someone, your goal is you want to go there and find someone that you can help. So take that, attention to people that are out there listening to your story.
So focus on others.
Yes.
So you can really tell your story better sometimes, but by listening more than talking.
Go out and listen instead of like, I'm so scared of talking to people. Then go and listen, right? Focus on listening and see what they need, how you can help them.
Yeah, so listening is one thing, but speaking is another.
Oh gosh.
So I'm going to ask you this question because it's been burning inside of me. Did you know that public speaking is the most common phobia, even ahead of spiders,
really,
heights, and
Oh
even
my
death? Do you know that?
Wow.
In fact, the National Institute of Mental Health said that glossophobia, or the public speaking phobia that we all know, about 40% of our population suffers that. Okay? Tell me, do you have any idea why? Because it seems like normal to talk.
I just think a lot of it comes down to just really being fearful of how people are going to think of you. It's like, how are people going to judge me? Is my story going to make people scared or cringe? I'm going to be scared because really, if you're just speaking yourself in a room, there's no one judging you. You're not as scared, right? But when you're putting yourself out there, that's when you feel like, people are going to think that I'm not a good speaker. People are going to think that I don't have a good message, that I'm not good enough, right? And that's the fear. And that's why I'm just like, whatever you're doing out there in your life, take that attention away from you. Yes, it's scary, but the reason you're going to speak, for example, if it's for cancer walk or something, you're telling your story of how you've been affected by cancer or your family have been affected by cancer, you're giving that inspiration to people to that they're okay. So when you're out there talking, put that attention of who you're helping instead of being with you, and we have to tell our story. We live in a world where it makes a difference. The only way you can make a difference is getting out there. So if you want to make a difference, be impactful, you got to get out there and break that fear and do it and just give yourself that opportunity. And I think this is the biggest thing. People don't take that opportunity to get out there or to be on your podcast. I'm sure there are people that you reach out. It's like, can you come be on my podcast?
20.
And they're like, I don't want to. I'm scared. I don't want to see myself.
Half
right?
replied, and half of the half are willing to.
Was that the reason? Is that they don't feel confident to speak
and
just in front
you
of
know what, I know for a fact because I'm ESL. I was doing something with you with social media, and I do that all the time. I speak a lot, but I'm still scared because now it makes sense when you told us it's the fear of getting judged.
Right.
I fear that my accent is something that's like my Achilles
And that's your quirk, right?
heel,
But there are people who's like, wait, there's some the way that I speak. There's something about my face that I don't like. There's something about my body language.
A side that is
Yeah,
better than the
right?
other.
But you just put it out there. But okay, and you hate what I still hate watching myself back.
No way.
Yes,
No way.
I record all these things on TV, and my husband's like, "Why don't you watch it?" I'm like, "No, because I hate watching myself." But I still go do it.
What
anyways.
about your sound, like the way you talk?
I don't know. I don't like any. Like I say, I'm okay with it now, but deep down, that anxiety is just telling me, "Oh my God, you sound horrible," you know. But
So we are the greatest critic of ourselves.
always.
My business partner yesterday told me you're the greatest critic.
Yeah.
But I just like, well, I'm just trying to be critical because I'm type A. I try to be perfect, but you're right. If you never start and overcome that fear, but the thing is, sometimes it's easier to say that. It's easier for us to say, well, I'm just going to overcome my fear. But where's the starting point? I think that
I wouldn't think, like I would say I'm going to overcome my fear. Like I'm going to go out and speak at this event. I'm going to go and reach out to Maria to do a podcast. You know, make a goal that's strategic and is not just about overcoming your fear. It's about doing what you love, right? Doing and talking about
so
what you
focus
love.
on that passion, that love and purpose to help you overcome. And then also another thing that really helped me, I listened to a lot of podcasts. I read a lot of books that told me I'm not less than. And that really propelled
and this
my
is why you're doing
confidence.
this, right? The podcast is to help other people feel like, hey, you're okay because Patranya wasn't perfect. She's anxious, she's scared, but she's doing it anyways, right? So if she can do it.
And she doesn't look like scared right now.
I'm just kidding. I've done this a lot enough that I feel like I can do it, and I'm not going to be perfect, but I'll do it anyways. But if you haven't done it enough, you're just going to be scared of it. You have to take that first step, and then the second step.
That's the hardest, I think, is the first step. Right. And I know a lot of our viewers, especially if they're an entrepreneur, that needed to be on TV, or aspiring journalists that really want to pull the trigger and like, hey, I'm going to be a journalist major, but I'm too scared to be on TV. How can people reach you and avail of your services? Because I know you do that, right?
That's a big part of my job, which I actually love because, again, I'm not bound to one TV station now, right? I can work with any media outlet in the country, around the world, and what I do now is help these voices, you know, especially women, especially small businesses, nonprofits, minorities, people who you haven't seen as much in the news or in the media. I push them to the forefront and I say, hey, I'm your cheerleader, I'm your trainer, I will help you, prep you all the way to that seat in front of the camera, and I'm gonna make you sound confident. So that's my job. So if you want to just have me be your partner in communications, in storytelling, definitely just email me, right? hello@patranyamedia.com. I know she'll put all this info in there. hello@patranyamedia.com. My website is patranyamedia.com, and you can find all kinds of things about me in there. Probably more than you want to know.
Yeah, there's some free resources that you can use, and when they're ready to take that plunge and work with you, they better be ready.
Yeah, and I have free media training. You've been to my free media.
What's the next one?
Well, it's coming up every month, every 6 weeks.
Okay.
But it might be after this episode is out. But I'll keep you posted. So go to my website and I'll keep you posted.
Yes, and I guess this is the end of the episode. I want
I'm
to talk to you
sad.
more, but
Can we just do this like for 3 hours?
I know, right? But I wanted just to summarize some certain things that really resonated with me when you were talking. I think for our audience and viewers, there's if they can do one thing right about now that can help them with their public speaking skills, that is to focus on your purpose as opposed to your fear.
Right.
That if our fear is less than our passion, passion always wins.
And that's been, I guess, my life, right? So you can do it too.
Yes. Thank you very much, and stay courageous. Thank you for tuning in to Courageously Speaking with me, your host, Maria Soriano. In our next episode this coming August 22nd, be prepared to learn more about how music saved a young singer's life as she battled bullying and poverty. See ya!